Hello, Zuko here. My name's Jess, but I go by Zimmy on the internet because one time I was 15. So I just finished the Grisha Trilogy yesterday. I know in my last video I was saying I'd never read it, and now I've read it, and I enjoyed it, and I wanted to talk about it. This is probably not going to be spoiler free. This is definitely not going to be spoiler free. Come discuss these books with me. I haven't read Six of Crows yet. That's my plan next, to read that duology. But right now we're talking about these three books. So yeah, join me. I guess we'll start at the beginning. A very good place to start. I really liked, what is it? Shadow and Bone. I don't know the names of any of these books. They're just the Grisha Trilogy to me. And I feel like she doesn't even call them that anymore. But they were the Grisha Trilogy, and that's what I knew them as. So Shadow and Bone, I really enjoyed. I know a lot of people were like, this is very paint by numbers, like YA fantasy. And they're probably not lying to me. But as someone who doesn't read YA fantasy, I think it was great. I had a lot of fun. I liked the characters. I thought the Darkling was neat. Also weird. Am I the only one who has a problem with the fact that he's like thousands or hundreds at least of years old? And he's like down to make out with like a 17-year-old? Because that makes me feel weird. Like, is anyone else like, that's weird? I didn't like that. I didn't like that romance aspect. I didn't like how romance focused any of these books were, if I'm being honest. But I liked the story of Alina, right? It's Alina. I liked her story and her journey from just like some kid to the Sun Summoner. I didn't like Mal. I didn't like Mal. I thought he was very cranky for no reason and possessive for no reason and kind of a dickbag for no reason. He was like, the second book was truly just Alina has to deal with a bunch of men who are really controlling about her, and she doesn't have any autonomy. That's all the books. All these books are about this woman who doesn't have any autonomy over herself, except one of them is very old, and for some reason still wants to kiss her, and that's weird to me. I'm a vampire apologist. He's not a vampire. I can't apologize for that age gap. It's weird. Like, I don't know. I found through the second book, like, I love Nikolai. I think he's great. I think everyone should love Nikolai, but I didn't see that him and Alina having a romantic attraction to each other. It did seem more like a political alliance and a, like, friendship, so I was, like, fine with that one. But Mal was a dick! And also, as no one ever acknowledged that, like, they're essentially, like, it's incest. And I know you're gonna say, but they're not actually related! But, like, they were orphans and they grew up together as, like, siblings. So it's incest. I'm adopted, and my only sibling is a year younger than me, and he is my step sibling. So we didn't meet each other until he was 7 and I was 8. That's incest. We grew up as siblings. He is my brother. We are siblings. Like, it's weird to me that she's like, yeah, I know we were up together since we were kids and we were always together. I know that, like, we're essentially siblings, but, like, it's cool. And it's never ever going to be mentioned or addressed. So her options are political marriage, essentially incest, weird immortal guy who's cool with kissing and marrying 17-year-old girls. That's weird, right? I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of focus on a romance in these books that I could have done without. Especially, I feel like in YA, the focus is always on romance. There's always such a big focus on romance. When I was in my teens, most of my friends weren't dating. Most of us weren't in this romantic sphere doing all this dumb teenage bullshit. Like, my friends who were dating were doing this dumb teenage drama bullshit, but, like, the majority of us weren't because we weren't dating yet. It's so weird to me that so many YA books want to focus. Like, I could do a whole other video on why I don't understand why it's called young adult, but it's 12 to, like, 18-year-olds or whatever. Like, it's teen. These are teen books. And I don't understand why teen books focus so heavily on romance. I feel like the general experience isn't aggressive romance as a teen. I don't think that's always where that is. I think your first love can be in your 20s, and that's okay. And that's pretty normal, actually. And having all the YA books focus so hard on love triangles and romance and who are they going to choose is weird. Where I feel like a better theme would be, like, finding her autonomy, which is there. It's there in books about dystopians, where there's the end of the world. The theme tends to be like, I want to find my autonomy so that am I gonna die for this? Is this gonna be my cause? But, like, it's not in, like, contemporaries. It's not like I'm my own person and I should do what's right, and I have a boyfriend now, and I think that's weird. You're kind of just jumping everywhere at this point. I really liked the second book. Everyone seems to think that's their favorite. I believe them. I mean, to everyone that's their favorite. That's cool. I really enjoyed it, though I did find it like slower paced. I did enjoy that it was like a lot of Nikolai, but I didn't enjoy that it was a lot of Mal being jealous. It was a bunch of men standing around talking about Alina while she's standing there listening to them, and they're making all the decisions for her. And I hated that. It was so you know, no one ever asks her what she wants. They just decide for her, and it's like awful. It's so patriarchal. And it's all romantic interest too. It's always people who like want to date her who are making decisions for her, and that's so weird, bad, and unhealthy. But I did enjoy the book. Like, I swear I enjoyed the book. I didn't enjoy the love stuff. I thought that the book was good, but it focused a lot on this romance stuff. Also, the beginning of book 3. I guess we're moving on to book 3. The beginning of book 3 stressed me out so much when she was being controlled by that priest dude. I was so stressed because I don't like situations that are stressful. I don't like situations where it feels like there's no way out, or where people are being controlled, or where people are being lied to. It makes me very stressed. Like, I'm not saying don't write them, because I know when people say, or when people hear that you don't like something in books, that means you're not allowed to write it. And that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying write it, but it really stresses me out personally. It made me really stressed. But there was a scene in the 3rd book that I loved, where all of the girls were just hanging out and being friends. I really loved that the girls who she thought were gonna be like super bitchy and awful and like, oh, she's just here to steal my boyfriend. Like, she was kind of a bitch, but she was like a friend too. She was loyal and she was wonderful. Like, the women in this book were all friends and they were all here for each other. There wasn't a like actual petty malice by the end, you know? Like, the female characters were all like, yeah, we're friends. We didn't like each other at first because we are told to be rivals, because we want to be the favorite, we want to be the best, we want to be the prettiest. And like, that's fair. We're also raised like that in our society, but then they all were like putting that away and just being friends and people, and that they could be just friends with each other. I really liked that, because I think that's important to know that, like, you don't actually have to think every other girl who is pretty is a rival to you. It's just not worth it. You could be friends, and they could be awesome, and you could have a great time. I almost cried, like, when all the girls were just like hanging out and trying on clothes. I was like, this is it. I love this. It's female friendship. It's so great to see. I don't know. And then there was the like gay smooch. It was good. I also liked that in this world, like, no one mentioned anything about anyone being queer. It was just like, oh yeah, and then they kissed and they were dating now, and no one was like, that's weird. Like, in this world, it seemed like queerness wasn't bad, and I was super into that. Like, it seemed like queerness was just natural. Like, some people were queer, which is the way it should be, because some people are queer. Ending, I know a lot of people seem to not like. At least that's what I've seen. Maybe I'm wrong. I liked the ending. I thought it ended pretty well. I am sorry if you can hear my dog snoring in the background. He's so freaking cute. I liked how it ended. Q&A at the back of Siege and Storm. Lee Bardugo says not everybody's gonna survive the last book, and I was like, I can bet money on who has plot armor, and I was pretty much right. Like, I was 50-50 on the Darkling, but I knew like Alina was gonna live. I knew Mal was gonna live. I knew Nikolai was gonna live. Like, and I guessed that all of the important girls were gonna live. And like, the only people who really died in the main group was like someone only introduced in this book who wasn't super duper important. Like, a couple people who were inconsequential in other books and this one, they just kind of they died. I guess Bagra, she died, and that sucked, because that was like an actual good character. But you could also kind of see that one coming, because shoot, she was old. You can't be that old and expect it to live through the whole book. I mean, look at Dumbledore. But yeah, I thought that the deaths were kind of not super impactful. I liked that they had the guts to kill the Darkling. I could have done with like a more impactful death. Like, I know I wanted Alina to be happy, but I don't know that Mal actually is the person who was going to make her happy, because he was nothing but like controlling and jealous the whole time. And I wasn't super into that. Shocker, I know. But I mean, they seemed happy, and I guess they're kind of trauma bonded now. So I guess they make sense as a couple. But if Mal had died and Alina had like lived on or stayed with like Nikolai as like some kind of not marriage person, but stayed around him as like friends or whatever. Like, I just wanted her to be happy and be around friends. I don't really care. Like, I didn't ship her with like any of the men or any of the women. I just wanted her to hang out with friends and be happy. But I guess her ending up with Mal is like the next best thing. If they're happy together. And I guess they're both human and normal now, so it's fine. I don't know. I don't really know what the point of this video was. Except I just wanted to talk about this book and how much I didn't like the love bits of it. But that I liked the rest of it. I thought the world building was cool. I don't really remember, like, they kept describing their Keftas, their Grisha robes. And I couldn't tell you what they look like. I know some were silk. I know some were lined with fur. But I couldn't tell you what they actually looked like because I read the first 100 pages of the first book and like I took a couple days to pick it back up. So I completely don't remember like visual descriptions of pretty much anything unless it was described again. So maybe they weren't described in detail, but I never knew what to picture. But otherwise I thought like the imagery was really cool. Like the locations and stuff all seemed awesome. Like it was just so pretty. And I liked the world. I liked the world building. I liked the world. Maybe it could have been in depth more, but I liked it more as, it wasn't like hard fantasy so much. It wasn't Tolkien. It was more like soft fantasy or middle fantasy maybe. And I really liked that because I didn't feel like I was an outsider being forced into this world that made no fucking sense to me. I tried to read Wicked Saints by Emily Duncan, and they just threw you in to action in a world that didn't make any sense to me, and it was also like Russian inspired, and it was just, I hated it. I think I made it 2 or 3 hours into the audiobook, and when I can't do this anymore, I don't know who any of the characters are, I don't know where they are, I don't know what's happening, I don't know why it's happening, and nothing makes sense. So I thought that this was done really well, and I have things to compare it to that were done very poorly. Yeah. Do I have anything else to say? Am I the only one who like kept forgetting Alina's name was Alina? Because it was all first person, so whenever they used her name, I was like, oh, right, that's her. Like, I feel like her name should have been something else, but I don't know what I think it should have been. Yeah. I don't know, those are all my thoughts that I have on the Grisha trilogy so far. Next, I'm hoping to read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom in the next week or so. And yeah. Let me know down below your thoughts on these books, but just these 3, please. Don't give me any spoilers for future series. But yeah, let me know your thoughts and stuff down below. My Instagram is also linked down below. I also now have a Bookstagram and my Goodreads. They're also down below. And yeah, I'll see you whenever I do my next video. There's a bug in here.